have a special guest, Judy Lipson, and she's going to talk about Let's Not Miss This Transformative Time. That's an intriguing title, so we'll find out from Judy what that means. Judy, just for your information, she's a licensed professional counselor. She offers transformational counseling for those who want to explore your life's purpose. Judy's going to talk about these uncertain times and how we can deal with the various emotions and feelings that are associated with being stuck in one place or being isolated and having a Zoom thing. Maybe she'll talk about Zoom fatigue as well. I'm not sure. But anyway, Judy, I'm going to mute everybody, and then we'll turn this over to you, and the show is yours. Now you're unmuted, Judy. Go ahead.
Thanks, everybody. It's really nice to be here, and I appreciate you taking the time to listen and let me join you for this meeting today. As Jerry said, so much of my counseling is about transformation, and what that really means to me is all about shifting oneself from one aspect of being or one aspect of what we're in the middle of to another. And I thought some more, especially this morning, about how to really bring this home to this group. And one of the things that so moves me is that you folks are all about service and giving back to the community and taking care of others. And as I talk to my clients and I talk to my friends and family, I watch the patterns. And the patterns that I've been seeing, especially in the last week or three, is about lethargy. And some people have talked to me and said, Judy, I'm so unmotivated right now. I don't understand what's going on. My creative spark is gone. I can't do my writing. I don't want to do my art. I'm not putting the time into my business, these kinds of things. And I looked at that and I realized this is not actually a lack of motivation, but rather it's about what I think is best described as lethargy. And again, not apathy. It's fatigue. And when we look at the bigger picture of how that happens, some of that is the more obvious. And Jerry, you just mentioned Zoom fatigue, and I just recently read an article about this, and it was so fascinating because they talk about when we communicate with others, we don't realize how much we look around. And when we are focused in a Zoom meeting, we want to really attend to that individual. In fact, I'm still struggling with, I know that my camera is over here to the left, and right now I'm staring at the camera, but I don't see any of you, and I'm trying to look at all the little squares because I'm a people person, so I'm looking at the little 8 other faces other than myself, and I want to see everybody. So I know that every time I do that and look over here to the right, I'm now no longer looking at you. So the Zoom fatigue is about this honed in attention that we all get caught up into. And also just being on some kind of technology screen, which can also be exhausting for certain people. And that focused attention, not just visually, but also attentively of what we're trying to stay focused on. I have talked with a number of people over the last couple of years to do the kind of work that I do, where I'm counseling, I'm talking, I'm listening. It is amazing how much I have to stay focused and be in the now, in this moment. It's very good for compartmentalizing, because if I've got stuff going on in my life, I need to put that over here because I need to focus right here. I've already learned and practiced that to quite a degree. Not that I'm perfect by any means, but I've practiced it so much that for me is not a new thing, so that's not a fatiguing thing. But I offer that to many of you to be under consideration, that when you're in these Zoom meetings, this is what's going on. It's this central focus. So coming back to that idea of lethargy, so we have all these reasons for the fatigue. We have this Zoom experience, and many of you are still involved with a lot of different activities, whether they're the programs and organizations you're a part of, the courses you're taking, the classes you're teaching, or just all the busyness things that we can do. And what a wonderful, ripe opportunity to do so, to use this time to take care of all the different aspects of ourselves and to get involved. I'm doing way more yoga than I've ever done before because I don't have to go there anymore. It's all remote. And I can squeeze it into my day in numerous different times and make the time. And so there are so many other things that are happening. If you have noticed that either now or recently in the past, particularly over these last 8-10 weeks, or if you start to notice that it's coming up in the future, that you're feeling this sense of lethargy, of lack of motivation, this seeming difficulty to do the things you've always done, to create what you've always done, to think about the things with excitement, or to create something anew, be gentle with yourself. Accept that this is what's happening right now, and it's temporary, and it's part of the many, many layers, the many layers that we are encountering. So I'm going to kind of flop around a little bit. This is a transformative time. Not everybody knows it. Not everybody realizes it. Those of us who have always been far more introspective and taken the time to go within and look at how we react and relate to the outer world and what our inner world is comprised of, many of us are very aware of what's happening right now. When the coronavirus came about and we were forced into this social distancing, physical distancing, different aspects of our lives closing down and causing us to slow and to still and to be more, I don't know about silent is the best word, but to change so many of the things that we've done. It becomes an opportunity for us to go within and determine what really makes sense anymore. I was listening to Good Morning America this morning, and they were interviewing a 2020 graduate and how, because we're right in the midst of graduation season right now. And what a different phenomenon it is for these kids, whether they are high school seniors graduating or college students graduating or any kind of special degree program. Regardless, they're getting ready to launch. We're used to commencements. We're used to gathering with friends and family and having this big hurrah. And these things aren't happening. But they were honoring these folks. And they were interviewing this one young man. And I'm not sure if he was a high school or a college grad. I think he might have been a college. And he said, "We are the class of 2020. We are the class of vision." And I don't know why it's taken me so long. I look at patterns, I look at layers, I look at the big picture. It wasn't until this morning when I realized, 2020 vision. That's a phrase we've all been very, very familiar with. This is the only year that's going to happen. We all have the opportunity to have and seek 2020 vision. And what does that mean? What that means for us then is that we are looking at things in a whole new way, and we are clarifying things, and we are seeking and have access to clarity of vision, clarity of knowing that we've not known before or didn't have the time to seek and know about. So, like I said, I've always been a very introspective person. I take the time for that inner knowing, that inner journaling, that inner learning. And I'm noticing how much more time is available to do that now because of the function of how we're living. I still am quite busy. I'm working from home. I'm having happily opportunities to do these kinds of talks, which I'm thrilled about. And I am quite busy. And yet my life has slowed to a degree because I'm not going to and from the office. I'm not going to and from breakfast and lunch meetings with my friends and colleagues. I'm not running to yoga. I'm not going out to dinner. I'm not going to social events. Everything is different. So even in my super busy, still hectic life, it is still at a different, quieter pace. All of us, most of us are at a quieter pace, which gives us the opportunity to take that seemingly innate inner journey for clarity. It's the year of 2020 of having that clarity of vision. So as you're trying to seek who you really are and how we relate to the world, what many of us are doing is we're looking at, who am I? Am I happy with who that is? And by the way, we of a certain age, it would appear that most of us are of a certain age, and we of a certain age, just like the adolescents who are graduating from high school, those teenagers who are at that time where they are trying to determine who they are and what are the goals and the values and the belief systems that they are part of. We too, of a certain age, and really this happens at every developmental stage all the way across, we too are seeking and determining what's important to me. What do I really believe in and what resonates with me? So it's not uncommon right now, guys, for all of us to be kind of sifting and sorting with relationships, friendships, work, career goals, belief systems, everything. And I find it so fascinating. What happens in the inner also tends to happen in the outer. So if we look at what's happening as a result of the coronavirus, look at all the systems that are up now for very honest review by our society and by us as individuals. We're looking at our medical and healthcare systems. We are looking now, because so many jobs came to a screeching halt and people lost their work and their income. We are now having to, or let's just say we now have more of an opportunity to look at the financial and the job systems that we have. And I'm not here to say one is better than another. That's not for me to do, and that's certainly not an area of my expertise where I'm going to say that this one is better and this one is not. My point to you is that this is the time when most of us, probably all of us, are doing this kind of reflective deciding. And now is not the time to make a decision. Now is the time that we have to reflect and sort and sift for clarity. And with that comes discernment. We are a very quick society. We're quick people. We're active. We do. We value ourselves and each other most frequently by how much time we spend and what we do. And so we want to rush into making decisions of, I like the way this person is talking about this. I don't like the way that this individual or this organization is doing this. And we want to be super quick at yes, no. Yes, no. But really, this is the time for discernment, which means looking at the many layers of things, really seeking that clarity and determining what is right for us, what is potentially right. We have an opportunity right now for transforming all the systems that are finally coming up and appearing that there are a lot of systems that need some big improvements. We're finding out things that aren't ideal. maybe not bad, maybe not wrong, but maybe not ideal. And maybe they were ideal for a different time. I'm a former educator, a special educator. So, it isn't even the current structure anymore of the kids all sitting in straight row desks, but there's still quite a bit of that concept. And that worked. It worked in its time when that was developed. And I'm very pleased that I was part of the educational system when we were being taught about cooperative grouping and kids working together and learning together and being able to present together and teach together. And that is the new way. Everything now is way more about collaboration. And it feels like we had forgotten a lot of that. Everything, that's such an overstatement. It's very much an overgeneralization. But I'm going to go with it anyway. Everything used to be, who's going to get that first? Who's going to get that contract? Who's going to find that cure? Who's going to find that manufacturing tool? And what I've been loving within the challenges of what's happening in our society is pharmaceutical and labs and scientists and specialists are coming together across companies, across the country, across the world in collaboration and communication. We've been for not just decades, but for generations and eons, we've been a people of separateness, always looking at how am I different than others? Gender, faith, race, ethnicity, the haves and the have-nots, all of those kinds of things. That's all about separateness. And we're definitely, I feel, moving to more of a sense of oneness, where we start to look at how am I like this other person? How am I like these other individuals? And what are our commonalities and what are our similarities? And once we start to realize that we are still flesh and blood and beliefs and loves and fears, and we all share that, but we share it, we manifest it differently. We live it differently, but all the ways that we have in common. Then we see the oneness, and then everything starts to flash at you about all the ways that even in the midst of so much fear and anger and reprisals, there's still also the many examples of people coming together, caring for each other, taking care of each other. And I don't think I have to probably tell you about all the really wonderful examples of that, because my guess is that you are by and large a very positive, optimistic group of people, which is why you come together to care for others. Service. That's what it's about. So probably in a few minutes, I'm going to open for questions, comments, the how-tos. Let's bring it down, let's bring it real if that's where you want to go. But let me offer a couple things first. So this is a time of apathy. Sorry, not apathy, lethargy. So sorry. It's also a time of a lot of anxiety and worry and stress because things changed. And by and large, we are not a people who handle change well. Some embrace it, love it, bring it on, bring on more. But by and large, we are not a people who like change. We like consistency. We like structure and security. I saw a really funny meme that I put on my Facebook page about a week ago, and it said something like, it's a little boy, and it says hashtag Autism Foundation or Autism Alliance or something like that. So in other words, this little boy is or is supposed to be on the autism spectrum. And it says something like, so everything's changing around you. How's that going for you now? to help us to kind of remember what it's like for these kids on the spectrum who are super sensory and who struggle with change and things not happening with expectation and warnings. Transitions are real difficult. And man, we were thrown into it pretty quickly. We kind of saw it coming in early March, maybe some of us in February, but it still, at least I'll speak personally, it felt like it hit really rapidly and boom, everything was changed. So there's all this anxiety, all this underlying stress. And I think it's important to remember that anxiety and stress, we're real familiar with the stuff that happens up here, our thoughts, our worries. But stress isn't just a mental thing. Stress also happens in our bodies. So if you, probably so, are or have been experiencing some stressful, anxious, worrisome times, some things that are really wonderful to do, movement. It helps move it through the body. Whether that's just shaking it out, and don't forget your fingers, your toes, your hips. When I used to be in my office, this is now my home office, when I used to be in my big office, I should do it because it's just too hilarious. Let's see if I'll be visible. Not really. I'll have to duck. Now I'll just have to sit and do the upper body portion of it. And so what I would do is just like literally shake it all out. And then I'd say, okay, wait for it, because don't forget the head. And really get everything moving. And movement helps anxiety and worry because it moves those emotions through the body. The trauma specialists talk about motion moves emotions. Another really good thing to do is anything that has to do with mindfulness. You'll find that everywhere, all over the internet, there are some excellent apps on your phone and computer. Some are free, some are for a service. I know some of them are Calm and Headspace. I think those charge, I'm not certain. But there's one that I really like called Insight Timer. And it's an app for your phone. And they have thousands of meditations by unknown people and well-known people. They range from 3 minutes to an hour and a half. You can pick what time frame you want. And they do offer a premium version where you pay, I think it's $70 a year. I'm not saying don't bother because it's no good. You don't need to. It's a great free thing. And when you're having trouble sleeping or you just need a few minutes to have some quiet time, these are great meditations for calming. What we're doing is we're coming to this moment now. The things in the past we look back at, we wish, especially worry people, we look back at the stuff in the past and we're trying to make sense of it, and you get one assessment. One assessment with those things. How might... Paula's asking, is that Insight Timer app? Yes, in the comments. I get one assessment of what took place in the past. That one assessment allows me to determine what have I learned from this, and now what can I use in the future if something similar to this comes up again. But to rehash it over and over and over again, we don't do time travel, guys. We don't get do-overs. So we're just wasting our energy and just putting more fears into our mind. Here's another thing about the mind. The amygdala, which is in the back of your brain in that primitive place, its job is to determine, am I safe? And so all of your sensory information and your emotions and the emotions of other people in nanoseconds, super quick, is filling into the amygdala, and the amygdala's job is to take each one of these pieces of information and determine, am I safe? And one of the problems is that the amygdala, in my opinion, never evolved. So whereas the amygdala was great for, am I safe? Is that bear going to attack me? Am I safe? How do I get away from this fire? Which were true dangers. Now the amygdala is freaking out over things like there will be a pop quiz, or you have a big project due next Monday and you have to stand and speak in front of everybody, and the person doesn't like speaking in public. Or you need to go see the boss. That sensation of, oh no. Okay? The other thing about the amygdala is it doesn't understand between what's literally happening right now and what's in the imagination. So every time you're redoing these past fears, the amygdala doesn't realize that happened an hour ago, yesterday, 10 years ago. It's still freaking out over it. So we stay in this moment now. Things that are coming up in the future, take an assessment of that. Determine what do I need to know about this future event coming up, and then what do I have to do to prepare for it. So we move from the worry aspect to the doing aspect. Everything is all about coming to this moment now. And the breath is one of the most powerful ways to do it. And what's awesome, of course, about the breath is that we don't have to remember to put it in our pocket or in our purse or in our backpack. It's always there. So I invite you, if you'd like, we're just going to, if you have like legs crossed or something, just set them flat on the ground. And if you want, you can close your eyes. You don't have to. And just see in your mind's eye the movement of your chest and abdomen as you inhale and you exhale. And it's not to control your breath. It's not to change your breath, but to be the observer of the breath. And observing the inhalation and the exhalation. And then on that next exhalation, just gently let your shoulders drop away from your ears. And then just focusing on the breath some more. And what that does for you is it's like the reboot of the body, just like when the computer or our phone is acting up, we do a reset, we turn it off, power it back on. That's way too harsh a process to do with the body, but the breath. Just taking 5 seconds, 5 breaths, 30 seconds. And I encourage you, don't wait until you're super stressed and then do that breath work. Do it then, but practice it even when you're not super stressed, because the body, each time you're engaging the parasympathetic nervous system to calm. So I just wanted to throw that out. Deepak Chopra is a well-regarded meditation and motivational, and he's a very well-known speaker. Doesn't mean that you guys may not know about him, but he is. And as we look at the opportunities that come with all this reflective time, who am I? Who do I want to be as in relationship to the world, and what do I want to be doing in relation to the world? He suggests starting each day with these 4 questions. Who am I? What do I want? What is my purpose? And what am I grateful for? It's a nice way to just kind of bring in those thoughts gently, very openly. Who am I? What do I want? What is my purpose? And what am I grateful for? And that aspect of gratitude is one of the finest ways to work through depression, despair, grief, and all those challenging emotions that we sometimes have. And oh, by the way, if you haven't noticed, you're probably running through all of them and will. And I mean, I can't tell you how many people I've talked to, and it's like all of a sudden they just are so super sad. So incredibly sad. And sometimes that's because we're feeling the ending of what has been. And sometimes we are really sad for something that has truly happened that's a real loss of a job, loss of a relationship, loss of someone we care about, loss of some aspect of our own health. And sometimes, if any of you are empaths, so sympathy, oh my goodness, that is so unfortunate. I feel so bad for you. Empathy, oh my goodness, that is so unfortunate. I can imagine what that must have been like for you. That's empathy. And an empath is someone who feels those feelings of another in their own body. Feels those sensations, feels those feelings. And we who are empaths are sometimes picking up the collective anger, the collective fear, the collective grief. And we are feeling it within ourselves, and it just kind of comes out of nowhere and was like, what's that about? I didn't realize I was sad. I didn't think there was anything to be upset about, and yet there it is. And sometimes I've had to, frequently just said, what's this about? And kind of do that internal, is there something that I'm worried about that's angered me, that saddened me, that I'm forgetting about or have lost connection with? And if it is, but it's this big, and the emotion I'm feeling is this big, or I'm really not feeling that emotion, then I realize, I think I'm feeling the collective. And that immediately makes it easier. The feeling is still there, but it's easier because I know it's not really mine. And then I do my tools, breathing, movement. I have some other things that I do that are herbal or homeopathic. That have become part of my protocols to help bring calm into my system to be able to process all of these emotions and all of these things that are going on. So that's probably what I most have to share directly.
Judy, on behalf of all the club members, thank you for your
thanks, everyone.
Really interesting talk. And we're going to close instead of doing Judy Lipsum, you did the presentation, but what's one thing that maybe you didn't tell us about that you're viewing differently?
I've always known that I'm an introvert, but I really love people, and I didn't realize how easy this would be. My husband and I have been one of those primarily lockdown folks. We've gone out for curbside delivery and for, walks and so forth. But other than that, we've stayed at home and used Instacart. All of our kids are out of state. We've done a lot of FaceTiming with family. I never expected this would be this easy. And I'm busy, but still that different. And I did make a note. I've had to really learn self-care, because not only is this such a huge deal for each of us personally, individually, but I'm keeping afloat so many by being, a counselor for so many, as well as I kind of see it as like holding this whole transformational time. It's not really, but at least keeping it conceptually. So I booked myself, which just means I wrote it into my calendar, Memorial Day week. I am taking a staycation, and I'm not seeing clients, and I'm going to reduce most of my friend visits too and read. I'm hoping for good weather and the leaves cleared on my deck so that I can get some shade and sit out in nice weather, and I've got ordered 4 books.